Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Toyota Tacoma DIY. On this episode, we're going to be installing a set of truck bed LED underlighting so that I can see when I am working on the back of my truck. So stay tuned. Now, if you haven't seen my Toyota videos yet, don't worry, I still do classic mini stuff. That's my primary thing with this whole channel, but I do own a Toyota Tacoma. So from time to time, when I have a project on the truck that I'd like to share with you guys or share, my experience with, I go ahead and create a video for that. Now, for this episode, I'm gonna be installing a set of LED strip lights. Basically, it's just this strip LED lighting. This is gonna go underneath the lip of my truck bed so that when at night, if I'm loading up something in the truck or I can't see back there, I can just open the truck bed, press a little button, and I've got light back there. Now, these LED lights are from a company called Matt Gecko LED. From what I can tell, they make all sorts of different LEDs for different kinds of applications, but this one is tailored specifically to my generation of Toyota Tacoma, so the whole install process is pretty streamlined. It comes with a fuse, some zip ties to run the wire up to the battery, a fuse, all sorts of little stuff, but all the things that you would need, and it's like, I think it was like 80 bucks for all the stuff all put together, so I think it's a pretty good deal. So first things first, let's just go over real quick what they include in the kit. That is the strip LEDs, all of the little ancillary electronic items, a cable that will run all the way up to the front of your car. This is actually going to be your hot wire despite it being black. This is not going to be your ground. And then a small instructional set of paperwork. So I don't really know how to do this. I've never done it before. I'm gonna follow these steps and I'm hoping that I can kind of translate that to a video if these instructions are unclear to anyone else. But you will need a couple things in order to make this work. You're gonna need a set of wire crimpers, you're gonna need a set of wire cutters, and then you're also gonna need a drill bit because you will have to drill a hole in one small spot if you wanna install the switch that they include with this. Now, if you have some other method that you'd like to wire up these lights, so maybe they come on with the cab light or something like that, that's your prerogative. In my case, I'm just gonna drill a small hole in the truck bed, which I'll show you guys. It's not gonna be super invasive, I promise. And then I'll be able to toggle these lights independent of everything else on the truck. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. I don't really want something that is going to be tied specifically to the truck being on or something like that. But let's jump out to the truck and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so to start things off, you are gonna need to clean the underside of everything that you're gonna be mounting these LED strips to. Now, it's pretty simple. You're just gonna need to take a wet rag and you're gonna wanna run and clean underneath this lip here, underneath your rails here and here. And that's pretty much it. So the LED strip light adhesive can actually stick to that. It's basically just a big sticker, but it's really strong sticker. Now, the next thing that you're gonna wanna do is take these cleats off if you do have them on your truck. So I'm gonna unscrew those. It's just gonna make installation a little bit easier. You might be curious, why would I pick up these LED strip lights over, just say something on Amazon that's a specific length? Well, basically the benefit that you're getting with these is that he's already gone to the trouble of creating basically a little bridge in between the gaps on this LED strip lighting. So you're basically just buying a kit that's complete, it's ready to go in versus something that you gotta do a bunch of fussing and fixing and yada, 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 things like that. So now I know a lot of my viewers are in the UK, but for those of you who are in the US, you are gonna wanna take this strip that's in the middle, the one that has power lines on both sides, and you're gonna wanna position this power cable, the one that actually gets wired to your battery, you're gonna wanna position that on your passenger side. That's the right side of your car. And basically all you have to do is take the strip, this LED strip, take the adhesive off and mount it directly underneath the lip of your truck bed right here, taking care to point the lights down and with equal amounts of space on each side. All right, and that's pretty much it for that portion there. You know how they always say that the devil's in the details? Well, this is a perfect example of a spot where the details are very important. If you were to just go ahead and start sticking this LED light strip on here on this other side, what you'd end up with is a wire that's kind of hanging down there, all ugly and not really great. And in this scenario, they've thought of this. They've actually included some kit items with this. Basically what you've been given are these little adhesive like mounting points, and a zip tie actually just goes right through here and clamps around the wire. Now what that's going to allow you to do is shove this up inside here and stick it up underneath this lip. This is going to help hide this excess wire here. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just loosely put this little zip tie on here just like that, and I'm going to go ahead and finish sticking this side of the adhesive onto this new rail and get this all wired and get this all hooked up. All right, and now you can take the adhesive and basically you're just going to stuff this wire up underneath here, and it's going to help hide this up in underneath your lip here. Well, actually, you know what? I don't think you even need these little adapters here. It just kind of stuffs up underneath there nice and tidy, and you can actually use the rail over here to kind of wedge that wire and just stuffs up hidden out of the way. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other side, and let's go ahead and skip to the next step. Now, this next part is probably where some people are going to get a little bit of heartburn, and this is where you have to drill your first hole. And you aren't going to want to go super deep here. This is just enough to poke a little hole right underneath this rail, and I'm going to do it as close to this wire as I can, just like this. Now, they recommend adding a little tape to the drill bit. That is a really good idea if you feel like you might not be able to stop the drill once it goes through the hole. You don't want it to go super deep. So if you are confident that you won't just like slam through the truck bed, then go ahead and add that tape. I'm just gonna go ahead and drill this just like that. And now you can see we've got our tiny little hole here, and we're gonna go ahead and feed this wire through. All right, and there we go. We have that wire pushed through that little hole there. Now, the next step is to decide where you want your button. Now for button placement, two good places and where they recommend in this. So keep in mind, this is your little toggle button here. It's just a little rubber push button. And they recommend either right here next to your power here, or up on your actual metal body of your truck bed. In my case, I'm gonna go ahead and choose this option right here, and we're gonna drill a small hole here. Now this hole needs to be 3/8 in size. So now with this hole location, you are gonna wanna take extra care that the spinning head of your drill bit does not damage this actual cover here. You should be able to drill this hole without too much fuss though. So now we have our hole set up and we are ready to start wiring this. All right, so now let's talk about how this all gets wired. Now, this is the wire that's coming down from your LED lights, and you should just be able to reach right up into that big old cavity underneath there. And so what we're gonna be doing here is we're actually gonna have this black wire. This black wire is gonna run off to a ground. So that would be this green wire that's included in the kit. And then you use this small little hook adapter here and the self-tapping screw to go ahead and add that to your actual frame. You're gonna use this self-tapping screw and actually drill and mount it directly to the frame. I do strongly recommend going ahead and painting this afterwards just to make sure that it doesn't rust prematurely. Then your red wire right here is gonna go over to your actual switch. So one end of your switch wire, and then the other side is gonna go to all the way up to the front of your car, where this is going to connect to your actual battery with an inline fuse to make sure that there are no damages if there's over voltage. This black wire is what's going to reach all the way up to the front of the truck, and I'll show you guys that here in just a second, but let's get to crimping some wires here. So now that we have the button in there, you can see I actually didn't go ahead and crimp that ground wire. That's this bare wire that's right here on my fingertip. That is because I wanted to make sure that it would reach to the frame rail right here, which is what I'm going to use as my ground spot. Now, like I mentioned, you're going to be using a self-tapping screw, which is the one that was included in the kit. That's going to drill straight into the frame here. It's super small. It's not a really big deal. So we'll go ahead and self-tap that right there, and then we'll crimp our ground wire and hook that on. Okay, so what we've got here now is one hole where the screw snapped off and didn't work so properly, and then we have a self-tapping screw, which is our ground, runs up to our LED light there, and then this wire right here that is running away from this is what's going to run up to the battery. All right, so the last part we got to do here is connect up our new inline fuse here. crimped to our wire, which is run all the way around and up here, and I'm gonna do a quick overview of that after I get this connected. But what you're gonna wanna do is, if the fuse is inside this inline fuse right now, go ahead and remove that. Now, the reason we wanna remove this fuse is because we don't really want to complete the circuit yet. We want the circuit to be incomplete, thus not wired and charged. And so what we're gonna do is kind of measure out our wire here. I'm gonna cut right about here, and this is gonna leave a little bit of excess for me to work with. All right, and so now we have our completed line here. We do need to loosen up this socket here. Now this is a 12mm socket. Tighten that sucker down. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cover this up, just so I don't have any accidental contact and complete the circuit. And now we've got this extra wire laying around here. And what we're gonna wanna do is just kind of like tidy this up real quick. So the first thing I'm gonna use is some of my Tessa tape. This is really nice wiring loom or wiring harness tape. And I'm gonna go ahead and wrap these contacts just to make it look a little nicer. Just like that. See how much nicer that looks? And then I'm gonna go ahead and crimp up this wire. Now, one thing, I do want my fuse to be accessible, so I'm just gonna kind of crimp it down right over here. It is still gonna be easy to get to if I ever need to replace that fuse for whatever reason, but it's out of the way and out of the main view of the engine bay here. And now I've got some excess wire. I'm gonna go ahead and tidy that up as well. Now, once you have all of your wire buttoned up and out of the way, the last thing that you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and add that fuse back in. Now, there is a possibility, if the button is already considered pressed, that you might get a teeny little spark with this, but don't worry, it's just 12 volts, it's not gonna hurt you. Cool, and so now you're all done with the front of the car, and let me just show you guys how I've got this wire routed. It kind of goes underneath the battery, right down here, and then it comes around, up the side, all the way along the back side of my engine bay here, and then it goes down on the left side there, so on the passenger side. Then it runs down into the wheel well, all the way along the frame rail of the back side of the car here, all the way to the back, up, and to the button, as well as the ground point right there. Now, the last thing I would recommend doing is going through all of the connections and adding this Tessa tape to it, and then zip tying it up out of the way so it doesn't go anywhere, doesn't get caught with anything. And then what we can do is go test our lights. All right, and let's go ahead and test these suckers out. Very, very nice. LED lights around the back of a truck bed. Now that's great. Okay, so that wraps up this episode. I hope you guys found that helpful. It was a pretty easy job overall. There weren't too many big gotchas or anything. I wish that I could have shown you guys really how I routed that whole wire up underneath the truck. However, it was just too tight to get down there with my camera and everything. But the general idea is that really you just need to keep that wire up, out of the way of things like your exhaust, things like your suspension, things that move. Zip tie it everywhere you can so that it's really tight and tidy underneath your car. And that's pretty much it. It's one hot wire that runs from your battery to the switch, then the wire runs to the LED red side, and then the black side goes to the ground. Pretty straightforward. You create a full circuit so that it can ground itself out. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section below. Also, all the tools that I used, which I missed a few at the beginning, all of those will be listed in the description in the event that you are unsure what you need. And the link to this LED kit is in the description as well. And keep in mind, I bought this with my own money. This isn't a sponsored video. Until the next DIY video on the Tacoma, I will be doing lots of mini stuff, and I'll see you on the next ones.